And then you had a period of kind of, I don't know, retreat, if you like. And you came back briefly with a label called If Records, didn't you, 3 or 4 years later?
Yes. I did. Funnily enough, yes, I'd retreated in the late 80s into the football world, really, because of fanzines.
That's right, yes.
And everything, and I'd become involved in some of that. It was a nice break. It was a change of pace and a change of scene. And then I felt the call to go back to it, really. This was because the Japanese had approached me independently and basically said, why don't you produce any records like those wonderful records you used to do with Elle? And I said, well, nobody's asked me to. I don't have a context to do it in here. And so basically I was getting financing from the Japanese to do it. And therefore, Songs for the Jet Set, which was the display compilation that really formed If Records, was the pillows and prayers of its time, really. It was there to really show what it was all about. And I did it independently, although I did use American and Spanish labels.
It came out in America, Spain and Japan, didn't it?
It did.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. There was a lot of interest in it. It got wonderful press. It sold a lot of copies. And but you see, I wasn't plugged into a setup in England. And so the continuity that I was able to enjoy with Cherry Red and with Elle, I was never able to quite maintain that continuity.
Yes.
Every record was a fight to finance. I was more like an independent filmmaker, Iain, then. It was like every record, it was back to the beginning. You know, you have a cake, you get a bit of the money from Japan, a bit of the money from Thailand or the Philippines even, you know, something from Brazil, something, you know, and everything took months. And so you lost a lot of the spontaneity as well. It became very hard to do. Of course,
so how many records came out on If Records?
I think it was 6 albums.
6 albums
in the end,
out,
yes. And you know, I just end up, you know, all these years later, they're there, and I own them, and so that, you know, that's where we are with it, really. I felt it needed to stop because I wasn't able to match the standards that we'd done with Elle, and I was finding it also, has to be said on a purely practical level, you know, a struggle to maintain
doing
that.
it on your own is hard,
Yeah, entirely.
So anyway, you came back into the Cherry Red stroke Elle fold.
Yes.
And Elle has seen a remarkable revival the last, is it 4 or 5 years now?
Yes.
And you've gone more in the catalogue market.
Yeah.
And the intriguing thing is, you've gone back to really records from the 50s and 60s and I think early 70s, but you've somehow kept the Elle philosophy.
Yes, because
kept
absolutely.
people with character and the interesting packaging.
And I'm glad you said that, Iain. I mean, that's really true. It's so important that people don't see what we're doing with Elle now as just another reissue label that's, you know, I'll just put out anything that happens to fall in my direction. Not at all.
That was wonderful names you've got here.
These artists, these are the people that really informed the taste that comprised the original Elle. So it's a reciprocal deal, if you like, really. There is that connection between the Elle of today and the original Elle.
Yes.
You know, these are the raw material for what the original Elle was, really. These are the people that we were interested in blending things with, and it's an extraordinary privilege, really. I think that, and you know, as an educational thing, also for myself. I mean, I never thought I would find myself in this position, but I must say that to be able to put out the works of Edgar Varese and of Ravi Shankar and the Brazilian music that we're doing, it gives Elle a very particular identity again, and people are beginning to see now the formation of that identity.
But it's so diverse because you've got Doris Day, Brigitte Bardot, Jacques Brel, Ennio Morricone, King singers Lena Hall,
absolutely,
Elizabeth Taylor, Twiggy.
Yes.
So many fascinating characters
but
there.
As with the original Cherry Red, when you pull out, you see a whole picture.
That's right. Yeah.
You know? And these things do fit together. You know, there are a number of good labels working with Cherry Red at the moment. Revola have got their own identity, which the same could be said of, and mine is quite different. And it's just, it's fascinating to do that. I like that diversity. It's just the natural thing. I can't help for it to come out that way.
Yeah.
You know, that's simply my signature.
It's, you know, it is so interesting that if you take the early L, phase 1 if you like, and the contemporary L, phase 2, the records in phase 2 were all made before phase 1, and yet there's this continuity there.
Yeah, it's completely, well, because it's like leapfrog, you know. Those original records were the inspiration to make the original L, and now we're able to put something back.
You know, one thing I didn't mention earlier, which I thought was, I did a Google search on you last night. Not that I know a lot about you, obviously, because we've been friends and work colleagues for many years now. But I wanted to see what came on the net, and the thing that came up more than anything, the reference, was the song that Kahimi Kari, the Japanese artist, wrote about you, called Mike Alway's Diary.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, this was certainly not prompted by me. It just occurred in the background. It was entirely to do with would-be goods and what have you. Cornelius.
Oh, that's right. He's quite legendary. The Japanese artist
Cornelius. Cornelius is a significant, very major young Japanese artist. He's now signed, I think, to Matador here.
Yes.
And once upon a time, he was a part of a group called Flipper's Guitar.
Okay.
In fact, Flipper's Guitar were the first J-pop phenomenon, really, in Japan, and they had just enormous success. And it was national success. And eventually what evolved out of that was Cornelius, and he was influenced by the way that we created the Would-Be Goods and Badger in Fancy Dress to build something similar around his girlfriend, who was Kahimi Kari. And along the way, they made this little tribute song, Mike Alway's Diary, which they did a couple of versions of. I think they did one in French and one in English, in fact.
Quite flattering.
Very flattering. Of course, I was also flattered by the fact it was also a top 10 hit in Japan, which is remarkable. I think that it shows also how the structure of the song and the way that was done as a kind of a pastiche of the L style, you see. So this is a Japanese person sort of doing that, and it works remarkably well.
There was also on the internet, I was looking at an interview you did many years ago, and one thing it asked you was, what was your greatest strength? And your answer, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember your answer?
No.
Attention to detail.
Yes.
And that's how you are, really. You're very attentive to get things absolutely right.
Yes.
And you're very clear why you do something.
Yes. Of course, things go through a process before they reach this stage. And sometimes a project can be elusive. You may feel compelled initially to want to do it, and it won't let you nail it down. I can't say I can be more specific than that. But I do like the detail. I think, though, that it's like it's the influence of watching a lot of films made by people like Lindsay Anderson and by Michael Powell. Wonderful British films, which are that. You know, they are art-directed films where the filmmaker is not just churning things out, he's spending a long, long time developing the project, like an auteur, really. And I like to do that, up to a point, to do that with records, you know, to let them develop themselves and for the character to come through. And so I'm very proud of that. And I would stand by that, actually. I would say that is a strength.
And you also said as your epitaph, you would like, he always thought about the future.
Yes.
Is that something that still applies?
I think more than ever, really. I mean, since I became a father, for sure.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a very big change,
yeah. One certain reason why one would. I can't imagine not ever always being around, you know, and I intend for this to go on. And I can't imagine retiring.
Yeah.
If I'm fit enough, this is going to go on and on. So
and you're
watch
very
out.
prolific because you're putting out, is it 4 albums a month, I think?
Yes, 3 or 4.
3 or 4 every month, and they're all fascinating. And L lives, that's the whole point about it. It keeps living in its new form. I'd like to thank you for coming, Mike.
Pleasure.
And thank you for watching Cherry Red TV. And we're going to actually decided earlier, we're going to actually do a whole thing about Mike's life. We've only actually covered part of it here, so we're doing it in 3 parts, so watch out for that. See you again soon. Goodbye.